Is it recording?
Yep.
You sure?
Mhm.
So, Raina, we're going to be talking about the images CD-ROM. Specifically, we'll be talking about a person that stood out to you the most, a simulation that stood out to you the most. We'll talk about that, your feelings regarding it, your application of that to your practice. And Summer, who is seen off camera, is going to be the observer, and she's just going to be not asking you any questions, so she's just going to be kind of listening and watching as to what we say. Is that okay with you?
Yep.
Great. So I'd like to start with, what did you expect before you watched all of the videos? What did you expect from them? Like, what did you expect it to be like versus what it actually was like?
I didn't expect it to be what it was at all. I didn't know we were supposed to watch videos. I thought they were going to be longer, and I didn't quite understand the concept of it. And then when I started watching them, the first couple, I thought it was the same video, but different tones of voice. Do you know what I mean? So I thought it was the same video over and over and over, but different, like tones of voice, I guess, or different ways of approaching it. So that's what I thought at the beginning, and then I realized that they're all different videos and they're leading up to something. And I noticed that each video was progressively, it was almost like you were talking to them, even though there was no invocation of responses that were happening. So that was a little confusing. But I recorded what they said, and I recorded what they were like, what I thought they might have been thinking, and I also recorded what they looked, how like their facial expressions, and where they might have been sitting or things like that.
That was a great answer. So within the images video, what nonverbal stood out to you the most amongst the whole CD-ROM?
Their facial expressions, because a lot of them were very close to their face. I found they would start far away and then they would get closer and closer and closer to their face, almost like they want you to notice what their facial expressions are. So I think a nonverbal was their facial expressions, because some of them would look away from you, some of them would look right at you, some of them would look concerned or mad or angry. So I don't know if it's not really one specific one, but it's definitely their facial expressions, like above their movements and things. It was just, I could tell how they were feeling by their facial expressions, and you can get a lot from it.
Right. So you think a big theme of the images video was facial expressions. Why do you think that is?
Because it's a way of understanding somebody's emotions. If it was just audio, we would not get the same learning at all, because thinking about like our skills, solar and active listening and everything, and how we would approach them, like watching the videos and thinking about how you would approach them. Like that's what I was thinking. If they were sitting this way or looking this way, like how would I approach them? And so back to what I was saying. Why? Did you ask why? Probably because there's just, that's where the most I don't have any words.
Take your time.
It's like the most prominent thing, I guess. You can tell almost how they're feeling by their facial expressions.
Without them.
Yeah, and it's almost like it's easier for us to make advanced highlights and things like that when we can see them.
Can you explain what an advanced highlight is?
It's like the message behind the message, or like the meaning behind the message. So, if somebody, like I said at the beginning, it was like I thought that it was the same video but different facial expressions, basically, and like moods and tones. So they can, like when somebody says or says a statement in 10 different tones, there can be 10 different meanings behind it. So an advanced highlight is figuring out what's really going on for that person, and like they might seem angry, but maybe they're scared or worried, or they can't quite understand how they're feeling. So you maybe say, you feel this, and it kind of puts a label on how they're feeling. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
So, talking a lot about facial expressions, and a lot about visuals, how do you think you would interpret the images CD-ROM if you weren't able to listen, if you were only able to physically see what was going on? Do you feel like your answers for each response would be different or the same?
Probably, I mean, they'd have to be different because you're missing a piece of the presentation of like the videos.
Do you mind if we try something right quick?
Sure.
So I'm gonna say to you, I'm so happy right now. What did you get from that? Through your ears and through your eyes?
I got that you were sad more than happy.
But what did I say?
You said you were happy.
Right. So if we weren't able to watch, or sorry, we weren't able to listen to what I was just saying, if I was on the CD, the images CD, and you just saw my face, you would assume that I was really sad.
Yeah.
Maybe I was actually really happy and I just don't know how to display happiness.
Yeah.
Right? So do you think that that's really important to be able to have both?
I mean, I think yes. But also, just by seeing somebody and how their overall like aura, you could say, is, you can kind of get a feel for what they're feeling. I think it's important to know, but some of them didn't even talk in them, and I still kind of knew what was going on. So I guess, yeah. So I guess it would make a difference, but probably not a lot.
So nonverbals are key. What I'm hearing from you.
And just,
Great.
Yeah. Body language, I guess.
So now that we kind of did an overall, I got a feel for how you did with images. I'd like you to pinpoint down to somebody a scenario that really stood out to you, and I want you to tell me why that scenario stuck with you.
So it would have probably been Kara and Ewan, because it stood out to me because it was children, and I don't think they had any children in the other ones. I think they were all adolescents or adults, and so Kara and Ewan were there, and they seemed to be younger than 10, maybe 10, 12. So that's a reason they stood out to me. Another reason is because there was two of them, and there wasn't two people in any of the other videos. It also stood out to me because of what the content was about. They were talking about going to their mom's house, and Kara didn't want to go, and so that concerned me, I guess. Like, I kind of got invested in it a little bit, the storyline.
Do you find that crosses over a lot to your practice? Do you find that you get invested a lot?
Especially in younger children, I think I get more invested in what they're, and not to say that the other ones, like, I wasn't feeling what they were feeling, because I was. Like, there was many times. There was one, I can't put her name on him, but he was expressing his feelings of nobody likes him, and he feels like he can't make friends, and
Harry.
yeah, I felt super upset about it, and because it's like a struggle a lot of people have, but at the same time, when kids express those emotions, it's almost like it's just so much, it just hurts so much more, I guess.
I'm gonna circle back to Karen Ewan. I'd like to know how you handled, on the back pages when it asks for your summary. I'd like to know what you wrote for that.
I think I wrote something about Kara and Ewan, and how Ewan wasn't feeling, or wasn't really seeing Kara's emotions, Kara's side. Ewan was just excited to go to mom's house, and then I wrote about how Kara had another meaning for not wanting to go. It wasn't just because her answer was more fun, it was because something else was going on. And then I wrote that she expressed that, no, she disclosed that she didn't want to go because she was getting hurt by mom's stepdad, or the stepdad, I guess.
Did she use the word hurt?
No.
What word did she use?
Oh no, she did. She said, he hurts me. And, or punches me. It's one of the two. Either way, I think it was punches. Either way, I'm sure it would hurt. But yeah. So I kind of just summarized what she said and what Ewan said and what I thought of the overall situation.
I want to know what you thought of the overall situation. That's what I want to know. So there was about 6 responses from Kara and Ewan, and each one were different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I kind of want to just know, what were your thoughts of the situation with your CYC lens on?
I thought it was something that probably could be common in our field. I think it's common to see those conversations going on between children, talking about their parents and also disclosing things that might be going on, whether it's abuse or if it's neglect or anything. I think they can identify that. Maybe they don't know that it's bad, but judging by Kara's emotions and like her facial expressions, I could tell that she knew it was bad. She knew that was going on and was not good. I also thought about Ewan, how he might have been either covering up for Kara, or he just didn't know what the situation was, like what actually was going on. I thought it was just kind of heartbreaking, I guess. But at the same time, I was almost eager to, if that was real, eager to handle it, because I think I have built a skill set where I could handle that situation now rather than before.
So I want you to walk me through that.
So
real life, real time, real kids.
Okay.
How does happen?
So if I'll explain the scenario first, because I don't think we talked about the scenario. So Kara and Ewan are at a restaurant, and me and the social worker have taken them from the home to go visit the mother, and Kara says to Ewan, I can't wait to go to Aunt's house, or I want to go to Aunt's house. I can't recall completely, but, and then Ewan says, no, like, I want to go to Mom's house. And Kara says, I don't want to go to Mom's house. Her boyfriend punches me. And then Ewan says, oh, like, come on, Kara, it's just play fighting, or something like that. And she says, that's not all he does, and she puts her head down. And Ewan, I don't know, I can't really recall a lot from after that point, maybe because my mind was only focused on that, but I think, yeah, that's so weird, I can't recall.
I'll help you out a little bit.
Okay.
The last video, she brought her head up, and social worker, and she yelled, I want to go home now. Or my old foster family now, right? So that was just a lot. So you had almost all of them. It was just that one that you missed.
Okay, yeah. So I recall. So she expressed that she didn't want to go at all, that she wanted to go to the old place. And that was the scenario. So your question was, what would I do in that situation? So it says that I overheard this conversation. So I couldn't directly go to Kara and say, are you feeling unsafe?
Can I challenge you?
Yes.
Why wouldn't you?
I guess I could. I think it's because I didn't want to make them feel that I was eavesdropping the whole time, even though I was. So I would go, yeah. So thinking about that, then I would go over to Kara and say, are you feeling unsafe? Or can you And if she says yes, I would say, when did this happen? Or when was the last time that this happened? Okay, good one. When did the last time this happen? Or when did this go on? Or does this go on often? Or something like that. To figure out if she, like, going to mom's house right now, if that is unsafe. Because if it's been happening recently, she can't go. Like, neither one of them should be there. If it happened like a while ago, and like hasn't happened in a long time. Even though I can trust Kara, but at the same time, she could be still hiding things if she says, oh, it happened a long time ago. We still don't know. So, make an incident report is what I would do. Talk to the social worker, talk to my supervisor, see what I should do about it. Maybe have a supervisor visit instead. Switch up plans, say, oh, we need to have a supervisor visit. Sorry, like, Kara disclosed something to me. I don't know. I think so. Like, I think that's what I would.
Do you think that this stands grounds for a child abuse form? What was it called?
Child abuse protocol. Right. Duty to report. Yes.
Do you find that
Wouldn't that be an incident?
it's a report something that you do at your job? Child abuse protocol requires you to fill out form.
Then yes.
Requires you to fill out form 1.
Then yes, I would. I would ask her maybe where. Then, thinking about that, I would ask her where she got hurt, and then you know how you have to pinpoint it on the body or whatever, and do that.
So that you feel like the level of information that you overheard gives you grounds enough to do a child abuse protocol.
Yeah.
Cool.
Especially when Ewan says it's just play fighting, and she didn't agree at all. She didn't say, yeah, I guess so. She said, that's not all it does.
So when they're speaking to the camera, your social worker is gone off to the bathroom in a scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking at the camera, but they very well could just be having a two-person conversation, right? She's saying, I want to go to mom. She's saying, I want to go to dad's. Pardon me. And if you had overheard that, Ewan might be one of the only safe people in Kara's life. So it could be very realistic that what she's saying to Ewan is very much so true. So I completely agree with you. I think you should do a child abuse protocol. If this was real life, I feel like even if it did happen a while ago, it still should be something that's resurfaced or reevaluated in case it resurfaces. So that was great. I love all your answers for those scenarios. What do I want to ask you now?
We can talk.
I'd like to know more about. So you did really good with. Told me about Kara and Ewan. Really good with pinpointing one person. And I understand that it's kind of gets exasperated trying to talk about the same scenario that you've only got to see about 6 seconds of, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think could have been done differently so those scenarios didn't have to happen? Does that make sense?
No.
So what do you think the social worker or yourself as a youth worker tag along with the social worker could have done so that Kara didn't feel so unsafe that she had to talk to Ewan about her boyfriend hitting her? Was there anything you think that could have been put in place to prevent that? Almost like an intervention?
If Kara doesn't talk about it, and the fact that the boyfriend is doing those things, then I don't know if we would know. Maybe we could, wouldn't there be some sort of, like, after the visits that they've had, some sort of debrief about it? Maybe not. Like, how was your time? Maybe what should have happened is debriefing after they come home. And not even debriefing, just talk about the trip. And if there's suspicious language being going on between, like, Kara and Ewan again, then I think that would have been able to be prevented, like, just from us overhearing that. Like, I don't think we should have just overheard that. I think it should have been somehow, like, talked about before. But then that's where it comes, like, how recent was this? Was this just their last visit that this happened? Like, those questions. Also, maybe Kara didn't feel safe talking to us about it, so he didn't. There's so many things that can play along with this, especially if we don't know backstory.
Is there anything else you want to talk about regarding Kara and Ewan?
why Kara, I just have a question, but I want to know why Ewan, didn't really see this stuff going on. Does that mean that this stuff's happening behind closed doors? And like a lot of those questions come up in my mind when thinking about this, and it's hard not to interrogate a child. It's not hard, but it's like willpower to not be like, oh, like what happened? Like tell me what happened. Like when did this happen? Because it's not our job to do that. It is like police and other people. It's our job to just make sure they're safe. So
That's a very good realization. I agree.
Yeah.
How do those kind of questions make you feel? So you as a sister, you as a daughter, how does that make you feel? But yet keeping in mind that you are still a youth worker and you can't really, you can have those feelings, but you gotta make sure those feelings are like in you to make sure that you're being professional. So how do you deal with that conflict
what conflict?
inside of you?
Oh.
Like you said, you want to fix them and you want to like interrogate them, like what's wrong? Like tell them, I want to hug them, console you. So how do you make that switch from being that person and also being a girl? Because she was a girl who said she was being abused, right? So picture your little sister or something. How do you make that switch to be an actual professional youth worker?
I don't know if I make a switch. I think I just recognize that I'm not their parent and I'm not their mom, and I can't act like that. I am there to truly protect it, and I'm there to take care of them, right? So I also have learned a lot through child and youth care about everything, like about safety, about what we can and can't do, and so knowing that, I think that's where that would come from, would just be my learning that I've had. Also, I've never been in that situation in real life, so I don't know how I would actually react yet. But as of now, it's cool because images kind of makes you like think about that's gonna happen, and then like talking about it is thinking about what my reaction might be, because it's a very shocking thing to hear. So in my state of shockness, like what would I be like? Is what I want to know about.
Right.
Yeah, I think just through all of my education in school, that's why I would react that way. I keep picturing them being there. I don't know. I'm just like, hey.
So those are all my questions I have regarding Kara and Ewan. If you have nothing else to say, I'd like to continue to move on.
Yeah.
Nothing else about Kara and Ewan? Great. So your images, how long did it take you to complete and finish from start to the end?
8 classes.
About 8 classes.
Yeah.
And do you find that in all of those 8 classes you found yourself as invested as you are with Kara and Ewan? Or do you think that some were just kind of like pish posh, like you weren't really?
Some of them were I went through them very quickly and didn't think about them a lot because I don't think, actually I don't know, but I don't think I'm going to be working, no, that's a lie, because, let me just rephrase, because I just think as I talk, so.
Yeah, that's alright. Take a breath, take a second.
So, some of them I weren't as invested in because they were older people, but then I think about walking into families' homes. I'm going to have to deal with older people. They're going to be there. I'm going to have to talk to parents. I'm going to have to know how to, like we talked about, interacting with families in our course, and it's like important to know how they're feeling and that they're going to be there and they're going to talk to me because I'm there. I guess I wasn't thinking that when I was doing it, but I'm thinking about it now. And so Kara and Ewan, I was very invested in the most, took the most time on them because they were kids, I guess. I think I just like to stand up for kids, and I feel like adults can stand up for themselves, but sometimes they can't.
So what I'm gathering from what you're saying is with the help of doing with doing images, you had the help of realizing that younger children is kind of more so where your forte is. It's kind of more so where you find your passion in child and youth care.
Yeah.
So images helped you figure that out.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
That's great.
Or maybe that's where my most attention is. What is this? I was gonna bring up a question
For sure, if you have a
we
question,
talked previously about about how I would be when myself, and then how I would be for the practitioner. Remember?
sure, we can do that, yeah.
Okay, because you talked about previously, before this interview, of what I would be thinking if before childhood care,
Yes.
and what I think now.
Would you like me to ask you that question?
Yeah.
Okay, so, watching Kara Ewan 2 years ago, what would you have thought?
Yeah, so I would have freaked out probably, wouldn't know what to say or do. I would have probably just been more concerned of what actually happened and like want to know what actually happened. I wouldn't. I would be thinking about their safety, and I would also be freaking out and probably just not letting them go and see them at all. But as a child and youth care worker,
So now, watching it, how did you react?
yeah, as a child and youth care worker, I recognize that Kara just needs to be safe. Doesn't mean that we take her completely away from the family, because that doesn't always help. Also, recognizing that there are steps you can take to keep her safe. Like I keep saying that, but like whether that's taking the boyfriend of the picture and putting him in jail, like there are steps you can take that won't eliminate. Because for me, as a non-child care worker, I wouldn't want her seeing that family ever again. Before that, I would say, nope, these are bad. Like I don't want them around this stuff. And so now, I think I would just genuinely be concerned about her safety.
So that's a lot of learning that I'm hearing that you have had between
Yes.
then and now.
A lot of realization of what actually is going on.
And do you find that the images CD helped you realize that? So from the example I gave you earlier, about me saying that I'm really happy when I look really sad, did you already have that knowledge before you did images, or do you find the images really helped you gain that knowledge of nonverbals and safety and not just like wondering what's wrong and having to fix it?
Oh, I think images open my eyes to many different people that we're going to be working with, but also I'm like, it actually made me think about their exact, like what's going through their mind and like why are they reacting this way, instead of just like, it made me focus, I think, more on it than anything, because I had to write about it, so it made me focus on it more. So yeah, I did learn.
So it sounds like you took yourself out of it. So instead of thinking, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I doing? You really focus on the other person.
Yeah.
Do you know what that's called?
Being oriented.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Can you check the time?
28.
So, I want your final thoughts. So I want to know, when you finished images, you passed it in, besides relief, what was your final thoughts around the whole project, or the whole booklet?
At first I thought it was pointless, but then after, I think I did get a lot of learning, and it was also cool because at the beginning, some of the people at the beginning would seem very frustrated and like against me, and then they would come around and say, well, you don't even know what it's like, and they would disclose something to you at the end. And I think it's very cool to see that, and like to see that some people that can be hostile or defensive actually have a lot going on, and you just have to kind of, instead of interrogating them, you just kind of have to wait it out sometimes. I think that's what it taught me, and that's my feeling about it, was that it taught me to just wait and recognize how people are feeling in the moment. I guess that's not really how I feel about the whole thing, but
I have a question for you on the back of my noggin.
noggin. It's fine, you can end.
No, I'd like to get. So if you had advice for somebody who is about to do images for the first time, I want you to think of your experience with Kara and Ewan while you answer this question. But if you had a piece of advice for that person who's just doing it, what would your advice be?
Would they be child and youth
They would be child and youth practitioners.
To not think about yourself and just think about what's going on for them. because sometimes I would think about myself and how I was feeling when people were like Corey, for instance. I was thinking about how I was feeling, but like I didn't really kind of think about how he might have been feeling until like later on when I did more images. I was like, this is more about them than me. So I would just say, yeah, focus on